Professional wrestling is the one true sport. Other sports have their share of intense, dramatic moments, but nothing can compare with professional wrestling. Welcome to Wrestling History X, where three friends come together to talk about the stories behind the matches. I'm Matt.
I'm Druid number 2.
And I'm Justin Hawk Bradchain.
Welcome to episode 216, SummerSlam 1996.
Brought to you by Stridex.
Opposites attack! Weird.
Paul Abdul's big right now.
That would be a tract.
But to make it more WWF...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Who
Paul Abdul wasn't big in 96.
who would get the I don't know. Who would get the MC Scat Cat gimmick?
Of the WWF roster at the time or now?
I mean, I guess at the time, like
I'm like,
Sycho,
right
well,
now I'd say just throw ahead and throw Bad Bunny in there. But,
yeah. He has a very feline look.
Who do we say? Do we say now or then?
Well, for now I said Bad Bunny, but then I'm trying to think.
It's like
it's PN News, right?
I think that's just a
R.I.P.
MC Scat.
R.I.P. News.
JT Smith.
There we go.
Yeah,
I'd totally throw JT Smith in there with Paula. That'd be fun.
That would be good. I was thinking like who could use a new coat of paint, and I'm like Bob
Savio
Holly,
Vega.
but Bob Holly would be really funny. Savio Vega's always needed a new coat of paint.
Marty.
The first one didn't work. Marty would be funny, especially if he was using the
Bart Gunn.
But
Anybody in the tag team division.
Bart Gunn,
Yeah.
but wait,
Phineas.
he's got to go on to win the Brawl for All or whatever.
Paula Abdul and Ezekiel.
Or no, he didn't win. Did he win the Brawl for All, or is he just the one that knocked out Dr. Death?
He won.
He won,
Yeah.
but then he lost to Butterbean.
Oh, well, yeah, of course he lost to Butterbean. No one was going to win against Butterbean. Doesn't matter who it was. That guy's got a crazy punch.
Bradshaw could have been a contender.
I would like to see Bradshaw get
Knocked out in one
knocked
punch.
out by Butterbean with his fucking big dumb mouth.
So this was the 9th annual SummerSlam, produced by the WWF. It would take place on August 18th, 1996, from the Gunn Arena in Cleveland, Ohio, with an attendance of 17,000 people.
It's one of the main 4 shows, 17,000.
Yep.
Kind of number you're looking for. This is not an in your house.
That's a whole lot of Clevelandites in one area.
It is. I believe the Gunn Arena has been like
This is one of the first things. I think it just opened when this show
really?
happened.
Okay.
I guess they do say it's new. I feel like for some reason I'd heard it spoke of before. So
But see, I had that same feeling, but in my mind, the only voice I can hear speaking of it is Jim Ross.
yeah, and it could be one of those things too where it's like, oh well, this is the new Gunn Arena,
Yeah.
and maybe the Gunn Arena was a wrestling venue for years.
I guess it opened in 94,
It's still pretty new. 2 years old ain't nothing.
and it looks like they tore it down in... Oh, it's still open.
It's like the gun.
Because the Cavaliers still use it. It's now the Rocket City or Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse.
Yeah, I hate that arenas now all have just like sponsorship names instead of like names like the Gunn Arena. And for all I know, Gunn is a thing, but it's like it sucks when it's called like it's the Frosted Flakes Arena, and it's like
The former Cavaliers owner was Gordon Gunn.
yeah. See, that's fun.
What it was named
Yeah.
after.
Yeah, Madison Square Garden. It's not called the Kellogg's fucking basketball hut.
Spicy hot Dorito
The Kellogg's
Stadium.
fucking basketball.
It's just like that's what it sounds like. It's like give it a regal name.
Like, even Paycom Center. I don't like the sound of that.
No, it sounds dumb.
Just call it the fucking Thunderdome. Or
Yeah.
give it an actual name. Don't just name it after a company that invested in it.
And it was like the
They've
Ford
got
Center,
enough
but
money and
before then it just
recognition.
had like the Ford logo all over it.
Cox Center.
Yeah.
It started as the Ford Center when it opened.
But how nice does it sound? The building that we used to have large events, a lot of famously used in Bill Watts Mid-South. The myriad gardens. Great name for an arena.
Mm-hmm.
No,
But now it's the Cox Convention Center.
I know. And it's completely redone. And it doesn't.
Is that what it used to be called back then? Was it Myriad Gardens Arena? Or?
Yeah.
It was just the Myriad.
It was a Myriad.
Okay.
But
Because the Myriad Gardens is the gardens that's down the street.
Yeah. But Myriad is...
But literally, if you say Myriad to anyone over
They know what it
30
is.
years old here in Oklahoma, they know exactly which building
that's where
you're
you saw
talking about.
Monster Truck. That's where you saw wrestling.
Blazers hockey games.
Yeah.
That's where they would have like concerts
it was
and
the Ford
stuff.
Center when I first went to it in 2000 something.
Yeah.
I think it was anyways.
But the Myriad was great because
Well,
it
the
was...
Ford Center is the new building
Yeah.
that the Thunder play in now. The Myriad was the building that Prairie Surf is in now.
Okay.
And it was a big,
Okay.
dirty
Well, maybe
old
I was
school
just
arena.
thinking it was the same place. It just had a different name.
Yeah, just
Okay.
across the street.
The big building that's across the
R.I.P.
street.
the Myriad. I remember going to...
That if you park certain places in the city, you walk through the Myriad
Oh, yeah.
to get
Yeah.
to the Paycom
So I've
Center.
walked through that.
But it used to be a real grungy, lived-in arena. It was nice. You walked in and it felt like a bunch of shit had gone down there.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how a bunch of your arenas and auditoriums and whatnot were back in the day.
And they're all gone.
And now we have a new convention center. And so there's literally nothing other than that film studio
Yeah.
in the Cox Convention Center.
Sad.
Now, I think the oldest thing you can probably go to that like still probably has that feel might be like some like rodeo arenas throughout the like center of the country or
The Lazy
south.
E.
Yeah, like the Lazy E. The Lazy's been around forever. Never been there, but I'm sure it's got that grimy feel.
Thanks for going along with us on a look back into Oklahoma building history.
Yes.
But Shane, we're in Cleveland
We are.
for this show. So did you do what you do?
Well, here we are back in Cleveland, the land of Cleves. And yes, I did what I do. Looking up, seeing what all is popular in the Cleveland area or Ohio itself. We've been here before. We've done, I want to say I brought Klondike ice cream bars. I brought Polish Boy hot dog sandwich thingies. I think I brought a cocktail or two from there. But, you know, it's SummerSlam, and what goes best in summertime than ice cream? Ice cream is a big hit in the Ohio area. I like to think it's because it's cold up there often, so, you know, you just gotta eat ice cream during the cold months to stay a little bit warmer, because, you know, your insides have to match the outside so that you stay warmer and you don't freeze. Looking up, I found one of the popular places there. It was an ice cream place called Jenny's. And looking at their menu, it looked very similar to a place that we have here in Oklahoma City called Boomtown Creamery. They've got a big variety of homemade ice creams and specialty flavors and gluten-free this and featured that. But Boomtown, I brought 3 different varieties, or flavors I should say, not varieties. The first one I thought would be a safe choice just because, you know, everybody loves a little caramely something, so I brought what was known as the Carmelita Crumble. It is salted caramel ice cream, oat cookie streusel, Sam Old Moses bourbon caramel swirl, and chocolate flecks. I also brought one that sounded interesting called the Cherry Goat. It's goat cheese ice cream, roasted cherries, and salted fudge swirl.
That one gets my vote.
And then another one that I thought would be an interesting mix, the Breakfast Milkalicious. It is Fruity Pebble ice cream, Fruit Loops, and Captain Crunch berry pieces. You know, you can tie that into wrestling as well for the whole Fruity Pebble thing with John Cena back in the day with him and The Rock. Got the Cherry Goat because everybody seems to be referring to themselves as the goat of something here over the last 5, 10, however many years.
Yeah, basically probably maybe early 2000s rap music because they started saying the GOAT. I think LL Cool J was an early one to say that.
Okay.
He was the GOAT. He may be the one that coined it. I don't know.
hell, more than 10, 15
Yeah.
years, maybe closer to 30, 40 years.
Yeah, he didn't make up EGOT, but we all know who did that, and he never got anywhere close. But you know,
Oh, Mr. Miami Vice.
and that EGOT's not even cool. GOAT. It's like I get it. That's a good acronym.
Yeah, we got we cleared out our ice cream bowls before the recording officially even started, so there will be no sound effects. I can, you know, ting my
There you go.
my spoon on my bowl.
Slurp up the...
Also, yeah, that might be the The worst ASMR is someone just like eating ice cream.
But yeah, if you are ever in Oklahoma City, well, I guess I didn't even ask. Michael, you said the cherry goat was
That was my
your favorite
of the three. Of course, they were all good. They were all ice cream.
What was your thoughts, Matthew?
But that one was the most unique.
The breakfast cereal one had the most... I actually think it was probably the most unique because there was a texture and like a flavor that was just kind of like in your face.
Yeah, that's true.
But it wasn't like overwhelming.
Yeah.
While the cherry goat, I think it was probably the best quality of the three, but it was more subtle.
Yeah.
The salted caramel, I felt like it probably could have had a little bit more of the salted caramel.
Yeah.
Because it basically just was vanilla ice cream with some fixins in it.
Yeah.
And
I kind of had that same feeling. I didn't really get much of a salted aspect from it at all.
I know salted caramel can be a understated flavor tone as well, but...
Yeah, they've got some other flavors that I'm going to have to check out sometime. Their Banana Foster's looks good.
I mean, that sounds great.
The Espresso Crunch, I figured I'd save you the coffee flavor.
I appreciate it.
And then there's one that's a hazelnut. Basically, it's like a Nutella swirl ice cream. Hazelnut fudge, Nutella ice cream, and fudge swirl.
That is what that is.
Yeah,
sounds great.
That one sounds delicious. They've got one that's a lemon berry bliss that has lemon ice cream, lemon curd, and blueberry compote. All kinds of goodies. So, yeah, if you are ever in the Oklahoma area or Oklahoma City, swing by and check out Boomtown Creamery in the Uptown 23rd area. And, then go a block down the street and say hi to us over at Tucker's if you happen to be there.
A couple of movies. In fact, a couple of sports movies.
Ooh, I wonder if I've seen these.
Would hit the theater the same weekend. The Fan and Tin Cup.
Take it away, boys.
Take it away, Matt.
Neither one of you have seen either one of these?
I don't even know what The Fan is.
The Fan,
I know what Tin Cup
remember
is.
when it came out. It's Robert De Niro and Wesley Snipes, but it was always one of those that I was like, I'll watch it eventually, and then I just never got around to watching it, and then
I don't think either of those men are
20-something years go by.
probably remember making that movie.
And then Tin Cup is Kevin Costner.
It's Kevin Costner, and Kevin Costner's hot as hell right now.
Extremely anti-Kevin Costner in the 90s.
Too famous for you?
Well, no, it was like Dances with Wolves came out, and then everything he made after that, I didn't care about anymore.
So The Fan, it's based on a Peter Abrams book, but...
I've seen Celtic Pride or Celtic Pride.
Celtic
It's
Pride.
basically Wesley Snipes plays Barry Bonds, and Robert De Niro is his stalker.
Yeah.
And so
It's like a thriller?
It is a thriller, but like it is not very good.
It sounds bad.
Like other than you can tell, Snipes is in Major League, so he kind of knows how to swing a bat so he doesn't look completely worthless in the sports scenes.
But he's obviously an athletic.
But it's a Tony Scott film, and Tony Scott didn't know how to shoot a sports film.
Yeah.
So it's just this very weird,
Everybody out of place.
Tony Scott being very experimental in places when it would have just been better to.
And Tony Scott is
do a wide shot.
A pretty wild guy in the first place. As far as like the movies he makes, most of them don't make any sense, but like they are capital M movies where he's just like, it's gonna look great on the big screen.
Yep.
So yeah.
And then Tin Cup was Kevin Costner,
Golf.
Rene Russo,
and
Don Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to remember because I worked at Blockbuster at the time when all these movies were out, so I remember renting them to a bunch of people and seeing the previews on our trailer tape. But that it had no. I liked the Rene Russo, but Tin Cup had no qualities that was like rent me, because it was Kevin Costner.
It is probably my favorite golf movie. Like anytime I'm about to go play golf, I'll like throw Tin Cup on just as like a.
Is it a period piece?
No.
I guess that's the Legend of Bagger Vance.
Yeah, this was just set in the 90s.
He's a golf pro at a desert rundown course, and
he works his way up to the PGA Tour.
The U.S. Open in golf, the U.S. Open is open to anybody. You just have to go and do all these qualifying tournaments and if you qualify, you can play in the actual U.S. Open with the real pros, basically. And he ends up making the U.S. Open, and his ex-girlfriend is Renee Russo, and she's dating Don Johnson, who plays the smarmy pro. And so
he's our Shooter McGavin.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a lot of it is it's the drama version of Happy Gilmore.
Yeah,
because the storyline's basically the same.
Yeah, except for maybe minus the grandma.
Yeah, and I mean, just the infamous scene is, he's on like the 17th hole or whatever. There's there's a pond in front of the green, and he goes to hit it. First one goes in, and he just keeps doing it. And obviously, every time you go into the water, it's like 2 shots basically. Yeah. And that's how he got his name, was Tin Cup, because like literally he was a great shooter, but he would just like
choke.
He would choke at some point. And I enjoy Tin Cup quite a bit. It's probably one of my favorite sports movies.
I do like sports movies, even though I'm not a huge sports guy, but I appreciate a good sports movie. And
I'm all for sports movies, but yeah, unfortunately, these were 2 that I just
didn't. Is it Bull Durham good?
Bull Durham is good, but I don't love it.
Really, I love it.
Like most baseball people love Bull Durham, and it's kind of like, I'm just kind of like, all right.
I love it. It's so charming.
But
it is Bull Durham definitely appeals to a wider audience than like just baseball fans.
Yeah, see, we saw the other versions of these 2 movies, because you mentioned the other one of Celtic Pride.
Yes.
Yeah,
Is Celtic Pride good though?
No,
but
it's fun.
It's I
remember renting it.
It's a cheesy comedy from around the same time. It has to deal with the same thing. It's just with.
Well, see, Celtic Pride might
Daniel
actually be
Stern.
Better than The Fan, just for the sheer fact that it's a comedy.
Yeah, so it's like lower stakes.
So
Daniel Stern and Damon Wayans instead of Robin Williams or not Robin Williams.
I think the
Robert
only reason
De Niro.
I watched Celtic Pride was because when I was a kid, I only watched comedies, and my dad's from Massachusetts and was a Celtics fan, so it's like, well,
Weeks ago, we were talking about the movie posters that I had.
Celtic Pride?
That was one of them. Yeah,
that's awesome.
You mentioning that actually brought me back to the poster on my wall.
That's funny. Daniel Stern, what a guy.
And then, obviously, Happy Gilmore was the other version of Tin Cup.
Sports movies in the 90s. I mean, did they ever make more sports movies in any other decade than the 90s?
I mean, the 80s had
the 80s had quite a few.
Yeah, you had your baseball movies, you had your golf movies.
It seems like every kids movie that was live action in the 90s was a sports movie almost.
Disney made quite a few of those because they're pretty easy to make.
I mean, they cracked them out.
Mighty Ducks, baby.
Mighty Ducks 2, Little Giants, Ladybugs,
Little Big League,
Green,
Little Big League,
Big Green,
Rookie of the
Angels
Year.
in the Outfield. It's like there's so many.
Angel of the Outfield 2, Airbud 2, Airbud 3, Airbud 4,
Air Buddies.
Yeah, Airbud Goes to Space.
I don't know how many Airbuds are.
I don't either. I've never seen one.
Santa Paws.
Ooh,
that's
something
right.
like that.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, we've gone from sports to holidays.
Well, let's go back to wrestling. And let's talk some SummerSlam 96.
SummerSlam.
We get the WWF logo before a narrator tells us about monsters and their masks. And we see highlights of Mankind and Vader as the narration continues, saying some are deranged, unaware of the insanity that festers within, while others are brutal and ruthless. We then see Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker as it switches to the Monster Slayers, as they are varied and unique. HBK will have to use his guile, athleticism, and courage to overcome a 200-pound weight difference, while the Dead Man will have to exorcise the demon, not being able to rely on convention in their cold, unforgiving battleground.
It's so funny that they're like monsters and their slayers. It's like The Undertaker is a monster.
Mm-hmm.
Mankind is a crazy human. But The Undertaker has always been sold as a supernatural being, therefore a monster. And I'm like, couldn't you have found another way to phrase this? Because it's really silly. It's like, But he is a monster. About two monsters collide. I mean, I know they're trying to sum it up between the two main matches, obviously, but it's like the Undertaker is 110% a monster. The most successful monster gimmick in all of wrestling.
I mean, he's been murdered and come back to life.
He flew to
floated
heaven
up to
on
the
pay-per-view.
heavens.
Narration continues by saying, David must slay Goliath, and the Reaper must take another damned soul. But good doesn't always triumph over evil. Sometimes the horror lives on. Then we get shots of Cleveland, the home of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Jacobs Field, which was where the Indians and now the Guardians play, and the brand new Gunn Arena, as Vince McMahon welcomes us to the show, joined by Mr. Perfect and Jim Ross. And Perfect thinks Shawn will lose, while JR thinks the Boiler Room Brawl will change both men forever. Ooh.
I mean, yeah, pretty believable. I believe that one.
But we go to our first match. Savio Vega versus Owen Hart.
What?
It's nice to see Owen.
And we see Owen still has his cast on. He also has his slammy with him, which the ref warns him not to use before having to actually stop him from using them as well. And Savio tries to take advantage, but Owen continuously blocks, only for Hart to telegraph a back body drop, which Vega leapfrogs, grabbing the arm and smashing it across multiple turnbuckles. Savio then works that arm with holds, a scoop slam, and goes for an elbow drop, only for Owen to move and attempt to return the favor with an elbow drop. But Vega then moves and goes right back to arm holds.
There's a slight Owen chant at some point, and I'm like, well, yeah, we love him because he's great, but that doesn't bode well for Savio Vega.
And we get split screen where we see Jim Cornette and Vader in their locker room warming up before returning to the action where Owen escapes with an eye poke and the two men begin to run the ropes, ending with Savio hitting a monkey flip and several arm drags for a 2 count. Vega then whips hard into a corner, chest first, rolling him on the bounce back for a near fall, with Savio stumbling into the ring post, shoulder first, on the kick out.
I gotta love the Owen taking a classic Brett bump while Brett's out of the picture for the time being.
They actually mentioned Brett during this show for like the first time in a few months. So
foreshadowing.
He must have signed.
I mean, yeah, for sure.
Owen uses the opportunity to focus on the shoulder of Vega, with holds, stomps, and an armbar takedown for a 2 count. Savio escapes more holds by biting the leg of Hart, but Owen then ties up Vega in the ropes and slaps him.
So maybe Savio is working on a heel turn. Biting people. Who does he think he is, Hulk Hogan?
I mean, yeah.
All of a sudden, Clarence Mason makes his way out to the ring as Hart attempts a dropkick, only for Savio to avoid and attempt a spinning wheel kick, which Owen ducks. Hart then attempts a spinning wheel kick of his own, only for Vega to duck and nail a crossbody for a near fall. Owen comes back with an enziguri for a 2 count, which causes Owen to argue with the ref because he's like, that was 3.
I mean, you know, she's trying to get booze, but, you know, he's so much more interesting than Savio Vega.
But this allows Savio to recover and roll up Hart when he turns around for a near fall. Vega would then whip Owen to a corner and charge in, only to get a knee to the face, allowing Hart to cover him with his feet on the ropes for a 2 count. Owen thinks he's won, but the ref tells him differently, and the arguing begins again, once more allowing Savio to roll up Hart for a near fall.
Is Owen Hart one of the better brats in wrestling?
Oh, yeah.
Such a good brat. He's
I
got
mean, he's
the
youngest
face
of 12
for it.
kids.
Yeah,
So.
he's got the face for it, and it's like, you know, probably wasn't real. He was in real life.
That bratty little brother that you either had or didn't want.
Yeah. You didn't want him, but you end up loving him.
Owen then delivers a spinning wheel kick for a 2 count, before charging at Vega in a corner, only for Savio to hit a spinning heel kick. Savio then starts to fire up with an atomic drop, multiple clotheslines, chops, and mounted punches, before hitting a body slam and a leg drop for a near fall. Sidewalk slam by Vega for a 2 count, but he then telegraphs a back body drop, allowing Hart to nail a neck breaker and head up top for a missile drop kick for a near fall. Owen goes up top again for a moonsault, but Savio kicks his legs out from under him, causing him to crotch himself.
Kicked his leg out from under his leg, damn it.
Not his underleg.
Vega then climbs up for a back superplex, but the back of his head lands on Owen's cast, allowing Hart to recover and play possum as Savio makes it back to his feet.
Crack.
And Owen removes his cast and nails Vega in the face, knocking him out, before locking on the sharpshooter for the ref stoppage and the win.
You think Owen Hart has never seen a Lex Luger match? It's like he's got metal in his arm. I have a cast on my arm. You just keep it on.
But I think taking it off makes it like obvious that he doesn't need it.
It's a great visual, and it definitely, it's there to garner heat, but it makes him look stupid. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, it makes him look stupid, but it also makes him look smarter than everybody else because he's pulling it off.
Yeah. It's only stupid if you don't get away with it, right?
Post-match, Clarence Mason jumps in the ring to celebrate with Hart, which confuses him momentarily. But they hug before Clarence raises the cast-covered arm with Owen wincing in pain. Justin Hawk Bradshaw and Zebekiah then arrive at ringside, yelling at Vince before attacking Savio as he's headed to the back.
I think he attacked Savio with his words first.
And this is the first time we've seen Justin Hawk Bradshaw, and he is a WWE Hall of Famer. While the last time we saw Zebekiah was at SummerSlam 95, episode 163.
And see, I forgot the two of them were linked back at this time until they showed up on my screen. Because I remember Bradshaw being there back in the day with his long hair, but I don't remember him being linked with Zebekiah. I'm trying to remember. I want to say he was in a tag team with somebody, but I can't remember who his tag team partner was. But they were like the Bradshaws or something like that.
Brad and Shaw, the Bradshaws.
Is it
Blackjacks?
Wyndham? When Wyndham comes in, do they do Blackjacks?
Yeah, it was like Blackjack, Bradshaw, Blackjack.
Two cowboys.
Yeah.
Two new cowboys. One's less new. But
the Widowmaker returns.
Yeah, Justin Hawk Bradshaw's clothes fit these days. But if you've seen him recently in the last year or so on WWF, largest pleated pants I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, he's...
Yeah. Did he borrow those from Danny Glover off the set of Predator 2? Crazy looking.
We go to Todd Pettengill in the boiler room, and he calls it disturbing, ominous, and freaky, before explaining the rules of the boiler room brawl. Todd continues his tour saying there are things before finding Mankind in a corner, who calls the boiler room the hollowed halls, saying there's no place like home. Foley then licks a dusty pipe.
I love every square inch of this place.
Before warning the Undertaker not to enter, because a fate worse than death awaits him, and the match will alter the future of all mankind.
Is it being licked on the face by Mankind? Is that the threat?
He then wishes everyone to have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Before Todd points out the lick marks, reacting with disgust.
Ugh.
Licked a dusty pipe in Cleveland, Ohio, huh? I mean, I guess it's technically a new arena or stadium, but...
Still gross. You ever get paid to lick anything?
I
cannot disclose that on a microphone. But no.
It was just hanging in the air.
Let's go to our second match. The New Rockers of Marty Jannetty and Leif Cassidy versus the BodyDonnas of Skip and Zip versus the Godwinns of Henry O. and Phineas I. Godwinn with Hillbilly Jim versus the Smoking Guns of Bart and Billy Gunn with Sonny for the WWF World Tag Team Championships in a 4-way elimination match.
You don't realize how much you miss hearing the Rockers theme song until it just starts playing without you realizing it's going to be playing.
Yeah.
It's just instant happiness. Takes me back to being a kid.
Back to the barbershop.
Pre-barbershop.
So the last time we saw Marty was at the Royal Rumble 96, episode 183. Leif Cassidy, when he was better known as Al Snow, at Double Tables, episode 143.
Been some time.
That was the only show we've seen him at, right? No,
we've seen him at a couple
two shows. Yeah,
shows.
The first time we saw him was the
NWA
Smoky Mountain Wrestling
championship tournament.
Yeah, bingo hall show with the bad commentary.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he showed up in ECW for
a minute or two.
Yeah.
So funny to me to see him as a nimble, more technician style wrestler than the guy that screams about head. Still going to take a while for that to sink in. I guess there's a reason that, the head stuff works better for him in the future.
I mean, it's what everybody wants.
It's what everybody needs.
Such a funny joke that I didn't get it the first time I saw Al Snow.
You poor kid.
So we see Skip with a neck collar on, and it's because he's legit injured with a fractured vertebrae that had occurred a week before. So, I don't know if you noticed, but he never tags into this match.
I definitely noticed. I mean, if I had to pick a guy, I'm a Tom Pritchard guy. But maybe I haven't seen enough Candido.
You haven't seen enough Candido. So, the rules of this match, basically the competitors can tag anyone, with JR pointing out that partners might have to face each other. But if they do, they must make contact before tagging out.
Kiss on the cheek, tag the next guy in.
Finger poke of doom.
Mm-hmm.
Hug. Handshake.
High five.
Yeah, you give fist bump.
Yeah.
Scissor me daddy.
There you go.
That felt weird.
I mean, scissoring should feel weird. So Billy and Hog started off with Henry taking the Gunns down with shoulder blocks, hip toss, a pair of bad-looking right hands, and a wheelbarrow suplex, sending Billy into the BodyDonnas corner to tag in Zip. Hog tags in Phineas, with the Godwinn taking the BodyDonnas down with a shoulder block, as Sonny and the Gunns make fun of all of them. And Pig and Zip start running the ropes, but then both just stop and tag the Gunns before doing a little strut and a hug.
Strut was cute. The hug was cute.
And the Gunns protest having to fight each other, with Skip calling them chickens, waving his arms.
That's all he can move.
Before Bart tags in Zip, even though they really never make contact with each other. I guess Bart slapped Billy's back at one point. The ref allowed it.
He was choking.
Rules.
Yeah.
Zip with several arm drags and a clothesline of Billy. And he goes to run the ropes when Jannetty would trip him from the floor, allowing Billy to make the cover for the pin. And the BodyDonnas have been eliminated.
An unceremoniously elimination.
The mighty have fallen.
And this would be the last time the BodyDonnas are a team. We will see Skip show up in ECW very soon. But Zip would basically become a trainer with the occasional appearance on TV. So we haven't seen the last of him either. But there'll be different gimmicks. It won't be as Zip, thankfully.
Yeah, I mean, what terrible names for those guys.
Yep.
Though his next gimmick that we do see him as
even worse
is pretty funny, actually.
Are we talking Zip or Skip?
Zip.
Okay. So
literally, we'll just we will just see him on TV. There are some TV episodes that we'll watch that he is on. That he is a different gimmick that's a callback to a old gimmick that we haven't seen in a while.
Okay.
Sounds fun. Color me intrigued.
With Skip going down to ECW, does he get to blossom a little more?
Yes.
I never got to watch any of him in ECW. So
Candido joins up with a couple other guys, and
does he get that Shane Douglas rub kind of?
Yeah, I know that he's a wrestler people love, but I've not seen any prime Candido.
Because I could attribute that, comparing ECW Shane Douglas to what he was like when he came to WWF. I could see Candido having that same thing,
Yeah.
you know, not getting his real chance to shine in WWF and then going to ECW and actually exploding to show people what he was capable of. So
you know what hurts so much about the Shane Douglas thing is that he was already doing great in ECW, had to leave and do something horrendous to come back and continue to be great in ECW with the same gimmick. And it's like, so frustrating.
Yep.
So Henry comes in and he's tossed to the ropes by Billy, where Cassidy would get a knee up to the back from the apron. So the Gunn tags in Leif, who nails a clothesline to Hog. Marty's then tagged in and he nails a clothesline of his own
Thanks for coming, Leif.
before hitting a falling fist. And the Rockers and Gunns just seem to be working together, keeping the Godwinns at bay, when Cassidy would go for a clothesline from the apron on Henry, only for him to avoid, causing Billy to take the blow. Hog then fires up with a side slam of Billy, with the Rockers running in to break up the pin with elbow drops. But Henry moves, causing the Gunn to take this blow as well.
Yeah, friendship terminated.
I'm trying to remember, are the Rockers heels at this time?
I mean, it feels like it in this match.
I feel like that they're either heels or they're a new team and they're smaller. Both, you know, the Gunns and the New Rockers are smaller than the Godwinns, so it makes sense. Like, hey, if we take down these big guys,
True.
we'll fight each other. But until then, here's our pact. But the pact didn't last long.
The Rockers and Gunns start to argue in the middle of the ring, so the Godwinns both come in to hit stereo double noggin knockers. Hog with a back elbow to Jannetty goes for a clothesline, only for Marty to duck and run Henry into a turnbuckle for an O'Connor roll for a 2 count. But the kickout sends Jannetty into Leif. Hog then nails the slop drop for the pin, and the Rockers are eliminated.
Bum, bum, bum.
Here's just a leaf in the wind.
Bart comes in to attack with a scoop slam, a knee drop, but then charges into a big boot in the corner, followed by Henry charging out with a clothesline.
Sunny's trying to do her job. She's trying to get the heat, but she can't get it. She calls everybody ugly. They love it. They love being called ugly here. She tries to hit the mat to incite boos, you know, prime heel manager move, but it's just she's too hot to hate.
The Gunns with some double teaming to remain in control when Billy would attempt a corner splash, only for Hog to catch and drop him with a power slam, allowing Henry to make the crawl for the
Hot tag.
Pig cleans house with right hands before Hog hits a clothesline to Bart that takes them both out to the floor. And Hillbilly Jim starts to go after Sonny with the slop bucket, while Phineas hits the slop drop on Billy, makes the cover, but the ref is distracted by all of the shenanigans out on the floor.
They got that visual pin, though. It means something to the minds
So
of the
many
fans.
shenanigans.
And Bart uses the opening to fly in off the top rope with a double axe handle, rolling Billy on top for the pin and the win.
Remember when a double axe handle would just knock somebody out?
Yep. The last time that happened was...
This match?
I mean,
hope.
no, I was going to say maybe Velveteen Dream, but he didn't really knock somebody out with it. But he was the last guy to use it regularly.
I guess I didn't watch much of him, so...
He was wonderful. Unfortunately, he is not a very good person.
Mm-hmm.
Most wrestlers aren't, but he's a little too bad.
Yeah.
I do love that JR says that the Godwinns' biggest fan, Bill Clinton's birthday, is today. So, happy birthday
Oh, yes.
to that saxophone playing rascal.
Post-match, Sunny celebrates before grabbing a mic, and she tells the women the Gunns are what real men look like,
I mean, they look pretty manly to me.
before wanting all the men to compare her to their fat girlfriends, and unveiling a gift for the crowd. Fireworks explode, and a giant picture of Sunny unfurls above the ring.
All her trash talking to the audience made me want was Rick Rude.
Oh, yeah.
I just want him to come out and
She
insult
does-
the crowd.
She does kind of do a Rick Rude, and honestly,
Yeah, you fat, out of shape,
Yeah.
something, sweat hogs.
and then, to be honest, they're pretty, obviously opposite sex, but pretty equally as hot as far as that goes.
Oh, yeah.
So I can see why.
I mean,
Does that make Billy the Medusa of...
Young Billy Gunn's pretty great looking.
yeah.
Old Billy Gunn still looks great.
He's jacked, but, as someone who's not particularly into dudes, super jacked dude's not really my vibe.
As somebody who is into dudes, I thought both of the Gunns back in the day were attractive, but I thought Bart was the better looking of the two, so it just made me wonder what Bart today looks like in comparison.
Oh, yeah. That could be interesting. But Billy is like...
If he grew up to be that Silver Fox.
Oh, yeah.
Or if he
became
the typical wrestler that got away from the business, got out of shape, lost hair.
That's something that nobody points out about. It's like, if you have dark hair, you have the option to be a Silver Fox, but if you have light hair, you just lose it. So it's like, oh, what a good-looking blonde guy. It's like, well, he's gonna be bald or thinning, but a guy with dark hair has at least the chance to be a Silver Fox. I've heard guys make the
other opposite, or the other argument of their hair doesn't turn gray if they have blonde hair; it goes white.
Yeah, but the gray, dark hair with gray looks better.
Yeah.
Shane, you wear it well.
Well, thank you.
Vincent sends us to a video package of superstars touring Cleveland, and we see the Godwinns and the Gunns have a race to the arena.
It's like the inspiration for The Amazing Race right here in this little promo.
And the Gunns take a horse and carriage, while the Godwinns take a train, which the Gunns can't believe it when they lose.
I was trying to think of a Cannonball Run pun, but I just can't do it.
Yeah, it's been too long since I've seen Cannonball Run.
I know, or it's a mad world. It's like, it's just that I can't fit the wrestling into it.
Jerry Lawler then visits the Cleveland Indians batting practice, getting players to teach him to throw a spitball, which is an illegal pitch, while Sandy Alomar Jr. wants to learn the pile driver.
It is fun that the pitchers, the baseball players, are like, that's an illegal pitch. Like, I can't show you that. They played into it really well. They were having some fun.
Lawler also gets to throw out the first pitch at the game, but then they show him in his seats, and they're not the best, because it's like the last row of top of the outfield kind of thing.
So yeah, he's like, it's to the point where there's like 20 or 40 seats that are empty around him in the top crummy corner of the arena, and he didn't even move down.
Yeah, I mean, they put him high up above everybody else so that he can look down on all the commoners, because that's like the royal seating section right there. There's a reason for it.
Did you guys ever see that clip of two people having sex at the top of one of those, where they're like, oh, no one can see us? It's very funny. It's not that, I mean, it's graphic, but it's it's from far enough away that we're like, is that what I think it is?
We then see superstars help paint over some graffiti, including the world's strongest man, Mark Henry. Woo! And this is our first time to see him, so I'd like to inform you that he is a WWE Hall of Famer.
He's such a baby in this little debut. It's crazy. I mean, he's not one who has really aged a whole lot over the years, but he just went from being this like teenage-looking kid to being a grown-ass man now.
He definitely aged well. His his face held up. It's also like, I was like, oh, are we gonna move into a Guardian Angels gimmick here? And I'm like, they didn't, thank God. They're just covering up the graffiti. They're just doing something nice.
We also see the Undertaker and Paul Bearer give away a free funeral.
Hilarious.
Before we see an autograph signing at like a fan fest type gathering.
Yeah. Man, Shane, did you ever go to any like fan fest signings?
No.
I feel like the ones back in the day, like pre-internet, could have been really fun because they just would have been so slapped together. But if you were, like, depending on your age, it still would have felt cool. Whereas now, like, I'm not a guy that's into signatures, but if you go to a place, some kind of fan fest thing, just like people sitting at a table, and it doesn't really feel like exciting or anything. Maybe that's because I'm not into signatures, but it just feels humdrum. But as a kid, stuff like that feels like exciting. Like going to a card show when you're a kid is exciting, or a comic show when you're a kid is exciting.
So I didn't go to any of those back then, but I did encounter, superstars over the years as a kid. Yeah, we're running into Mr. Perfect and Big Boss Man at the Dallas airport, or standing in line at a gas station in Kansas and taking a step backwards, not realizing that I was running into Nikita Koloff.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I don't think I've ever seen a famous person just in the wild.
Yeah, I got the autograph for Perfect and Boss Man, but then I just wanted to kick myself. I was 15 or 16 at the time, and I had a copy of the then WWF magazine with me right there at the airport, but it was sitting in my nephew's stroller, and I missed out on getting Mr. Perfect's signature on the Mr. Perfect covered magazine.
Oh, it was the cover.
Yeah.
Damn. Well, hey.
By the time I realized it, they were gone.
I mean, even though you don't have the signature, you'll at least remember it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got the signature. It's just not on the magazine.
Not on the magazine.
We then go to our third match. The British Bulldog versus Sycho Sid. And while Davey Boy enters, Doc Hendricks interviews Sid in the back, asking him about the positive reactions he has been getting. And Sycho Sid claims he heard the fans screaming for months that they wanted the man back, so he's here to stay. Doc then asks if Sid can master the world of the Bulldog, with Sycho Sid just laughing, saying that tonight is his chance to take one more step before it's over, and that people will stand and tell him he's the master and ruler of the world.
I mean, Sid's best promo work? Honestly, I think this is great. Like, I am very high on Sid right here. Like, where we're going, he is really actually feeling himself and doing a character.
I enjoyed the promo, but then at the same time, I kept watching going, is this the one where he, like, stops midway through and asks if he can do it over again? Like, no, I think that was Monday Night Raw.
He's feeling himself.
Though the music of Bulldog was playing the entire time that he's talking, and he's, like...
waiting for his cue.
And he's doing the whisper and then being a lot louder thing, and so it was kind of hard to understand him completely what he was saying.
But he's got kind of like a more focused warrior vibe and more nuance as well, because he goes quiet and he goes loud, but his eyes are insane, and he like legitimately feels like he means it. He's trying. Like, he's obviously trying, and I think he's doing a good and compelling job.
So once the match starts, Davey Boy throws shoulder blocks that are no-sold by Sycho Sid, but he then runs into a clothesline and a body slam, causing Bulldog to roll to the floor to regroup.
USA.
Back in the ring, they take the fight to the mat, with Sid attempting to kip up out of a head scissors, but doesn't quite make it to his feet, before slamming Davey Boy for a 2 count. Sycho Sid then sends Bulldog to the ropes, but he telegraphs a back body drop, allowing Davey Boy to deliver a stalling suplex and begin to wear down Sid with holds, as Clarence Mason has made his way out to the ring for this match as well.
Stalling suplex on Sycho Sid, obviously impressive.
And I think it was at this point that one of our commentators actually tells us why Clarence Mason keeps coming out.
Yeah.
Basically trying to, like, Cornette's been so busy and focused on Vader that his other Camp Cornette clients haven't been getting the attention. And Mason's kind of trying to step in to be that guy for them.
Is he trying to sneak them out of Camp Cornette?
Possibly.
Or is he there on Cornette's behalf? We don't know, but if the British Bulldog comes out and Jim Cornette doesn't, it's very, very rare at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And Sycho Sid fires up to escape, but Bulldog clotheslines him over the ropes to the floor, before seeing split screen of Vader and Cornette warming up still in the locker room. And Sid makes it back to the apron, only for Davey Boy to knock him right back off with another clothesline. And Bulldog looks to bring in Sycho Sid the hard way, but changes his mind and drops him gut first across the ropes for a near fall.
It's such a subtle and smart thing to do, because it's like, oh, he did that stalling suplex. Sycho Sid is huge. Bulldog is also huge, but it's going to take something out of him, so it makes sense. It's like, well, how about I just take the wind out of him by dropping him down? There's some psychology here.
Bruise some ribs, knock some wind out, all of that. Yep.
Davey Boy returns to the chin lock until Sid can break free with elbows, chops, and a corner splash. Sycho Sid then charges into a corner again, only for Bulldog to move this time and deliver a running power slam.
Woo.
But he doesn't make the cover, as Cornette has made his way out to ringside to argue with Mason, wanting to know why he's out there. Davey Boy finally returns to Sid and picks him up for another running power slam. But Sycho Sid wiggles out the back to nail a choke slam and a power bomb for the pin and the win. I think this match is pretty good, guys.
I love Big-Eyed Sid. These are big guys that are trying to do it. It doesn't feel lazy, and it doesn't feel sloppy. And Sid is booked at 6'9", like 313, and he looks every bit
motivated.
of it. And he's absolutely motivated. Fans are behind him. The only thing that this match did wrong, and I say that in quotations, was that it made Bulldog look stupid. But he's a heel, and heels typically look stupid.
But he also doesn't lose anything because he lost because of a distraction.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's the right finish to not bury Bulldog.
Yeah.
But it's like, why would he care that they're arguing? Sycho Sid is bigger. One of the few guys that's bigger than the British Bulldog, and there's no Razor and there's no Hall here. And Sid is kind of total. What's great is that those guys were over and they had their couple of years and they were both great in different ways, obviously. Wouldn't have been great to see Hall mature in WWF as opposed to stop working in WCW. But Sid is, he's filling that role in a completely different way.
We then go to a commercial for In Your House Mind Games. And we get the aliens and the fan that we've seen in previous commercials return, with the aliens wanting to observe WWF's effect on babes.
Earth babes!
Before teleporting some lovely ladies to the guys' living room.
They see Sonny and Sable and they're like, wow, Earth babes.
That's what I say too.
They are Earth babes.
I mean, Earth girls are easy from what I remember from a movie.
Great movie. We go to our fourth match. Goldust with Marlena versus Wildman Marc Mero with Sable. And during the Godwinns' entrance, Todd Pettengill interviews the Wildman in the back, showing footage of Mankind scaring Sable on an episode of Superstars, calling her mommy.
Worst over actress ever.
That's the thing about wrestling too. It's like you can overact as long as you attempt to mean it. But
He's talking to me, so I have to cry.
And Mero doesn't understand Foley or the head games, but it's time to put up or shut up, telling Goldust that he will be a falling star tonight before heading to the ring after making a weird face at the camera.
It's the only one he's got.
He's a wild man.
And they're in the ring, and the Golden One slaps the Wild Man to begin, but he then hides behind the ref to keep Mero at bay. They then lock up with the Wild Man hitting several arm drags and a crossbody for a 2 count, before taking the match to the mat, working the arm of Goldust. Mero then telegraphs a back body drop, only for the Golden One to drop down and punch up.
I mean, we love it.
The Wild Man recovers and charges at Goldust, but he's back body dropped out to the floor. And Mero is dragged back to the apron, where the Golden One delivers several forearms across the chest, followed by a running knee that sends the Wild Man flying off into the guardrail. And Goldust follows out to drop Mero onto the steel again, before rolling him back in for a near fall. And then Golden One keeps up the attack with a clothesline and applies a chin lock as Mankind makes his way out to the ring, where he stalks after Sable, once again calling her mommy.
You know what I do love? Just chill Marlena. She's like, yeah, I'm hot, I wear gold, and I smoke cigars, and I just sit in my high director style chair and don't react to anything.
Yeah.
And it's like her, like Goldust is like powered by his like lust for her. It almost feels like she's. This is all in my head, but it feels like she just teases him into being a good wrestler that will do anything to make the win in hopes that maybe he'll finally get some.
Call her mommy.
Yeah, exactly. And he would call her mommy because he's gross. But
he'd probably call her mother.
Oh.
Officials make their way out to force Foley to leave, all while Goldust has been wearing down the Wildman. But Mero begins to fire up, only to receive a knee to the gut to slow the momentum, followed by more strikes to the midsection. And the Golden One then sends the Wildman to a corner, where Mero leaps up and off the ropes with a blind dive, allowing him to rally with an atomic drop, right hands, leaping clothesline, a backdrop, and a knee lift.
I mean, so many power moves in a row.
Wildman continues with mounted punches, but Goldust goes to toss him over the ropes, only for Mero to body scissor the Golden One over as well. The Wildman then climbs back into the ring, only to fly back out over the ropes with a somersault plancha, rolling Goldust in and then leaping into the ring with a slingshot leg drop.
Woo-wee!
Mero continues with a body slam, and he heads up top to nail the Wild Thing, a shooting star press.
Holy shit. I was just not ready for Marc Mero's thick ass to drop a shooting star press. Oof.
He makes the cover, but Marlena has climbed onto the apron to distract the ref, so he only gets a 2 count once the pin attempt is noticed.
I love, she was just so cool, chilling. She just waits for the spot and gets in the way and saves the day.
The Wildman hits a power slam for a near fall, but then the Golden One reverses a whip, causing Mero to bounce out of the corner into a curtain call, a reverse pancake, for the pin and the win.
I mean, what can we say about Goldust's character work? Been impeccable.
Yep.
It's like him and Mick Foley. Like, Goldust obviously is somehow creepier and weirder. Like, not even the fact that he's like coded as gay. He's just creepier and weirder. Like, that doesn't even have to be the thing. But his character work is on par with Mick Foley's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
It's so good.
Gets into the psychological side of things and just fucks with people's heads.
Such good heel.
Post-match, Goldust starts to harass Sable as she comes into the ring to check on the Wildman, causing her to back away. And the Golden One goes to kiss her, but Mero attacks, crushing Goldust on the ropes before knocking him out of the ring, bringing the officials out again to stop the fight.
And he drops him on top of the rope to crotch him, but then he hits a drop kick to push him out. And people are always talking about how Marc Mero stinks. Like, Marc Mero's great in this match. He hit a shooting star press. Which, a lot of people can do that and be bad wrestlers, but I think Marc Mero is better than people.
The only issue that people really had with him is it's just they wanted Marc Mero to be Johnny B. Bad.
But I think he's still just as good in a different way here.
But he's not as charismatic.
Yeah,
he's not as charismatic. That's true.
He doesn't connect with the audience the way
like,
he did.
it took him some time. But he put in the work to become like good in the ring.
Giant glitter gun is a whole lot easier to connect with people than standing on the ropes and doing that little thing with your eyes.
Yeah.
Where you run your fingers across like a
WWF is the
mask.
place where it's like you can be as good of a wrestler as you can be Tom Pritchard and never get over because you don't have the gimmick, or you can be Goldust where you're wrestling at the clip and putting in as much work in ring as you did previously, but you're more over now because the gimmick is right. We're in a gimmick-driven company.
Yeah, you're more than the son of Dusty Rhodes.
Yes.
You're Goldust.
Vincent sends it to a interview with Ahmed Johnson. And Kevin Kelly, our first time seeing him,
Ooh, I love Kevin Kelly.
is conducting the interview with him at his home, where Ahmed says the mental pain bothers him more than the physical. And we see clips of Farouk attacking and injuring him after he had just won a battle royal to win a title shot, causing him to be rushed to the hospital for a ruptured kidney. And this was actually a legit injury that was caused by Farouk.
Dang.
Oof. I mean, we all know who Farouk is. It's a big boy. But so is Ahmed Johnson.
Gorilla Monsoon would vacate the IC title, with Johnson understanding the decision and has nothing against Monsoon. And the doctors say Ahmed can return if the bleeding stops. But if it doesn't, they will have to remove the kidney. But Johnson doesn't care, saying nothing will stop him from returning. And then we get Pettengill, who's been doing the narration of this video, says that Austin, Goldust, Savio Vega, and Sycho Sid will all compete tomorrow on Raw for that heavyweight title shot that Ahmed Johnson had to give up. Not the IC belt, but the heavyweight title shot.
I got kind of
confused. I got confused.
I was like,
whenever I was watching it as well.
I also was like, did the way they talk about it is like, is the tournament about to happen? Did it already happen? Is the match we're about to go to like the tournament final?
Nope. It starts tomorrow.
Normally they're much better.
I don't even think it starts tomorrow. I think...
No, that was the one thing that they had said.
They do say that. But,
okay.
But
Yeah.
but
Tomorrow
it's,
on Raw is the start
But
of
it's
the
also
they talk
this
about it
heavyweight
before-
title
yeah.
shot. Four-way.
they say that tomorrow at Raw part at the end of explaining what it is. So normally WWF is very good at explaining in packages, and this is one of the few times that they.
Maybe I'm
fall
still
off.
confused because then I also remember seeing something about Raw on Friday.
Yeah,
during the
Raw
show.
was on Friday that week because of the, I think the U.S. Open
Yeah,
tennis.
it's like either U.S. Open or Dog Show or something.
Westminster.
We then get Todd in the ring, and he brings out Farouk and Sonny. And we haven't seen Farouk, a.k.a. Ron Simmons, since Hostile City Showdown 1995, all the way back in episode 149.
Damn.
Can't remember or picture what he did on that show, but I know that I watched it.
And Pettengill starts to ask a question, but Farouk interrupts, saying he asks the questions. And that question is, why isn't Monsoon out here handing me the Intercontinental title? And Pettengill says that the criminal doesn't always get to benefit from his crime.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
And that Gorilla has ordered a tournament to crown a new champion. And Farouk responds with, what do I look like? A waiter? And I was like, no, you look like a dumbass gladiator.
They like reskinned the Max Moon gear.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what if we just paint it straight blue? Is that blue?
Yep.
Yeah, it's like straight blue. It's like blue doesn't look good on a man of darker skin color. You need a color that pops. What are we doing here? If you're gonna go gladiator, put some gold on this man, some silver.
Sonny then gets the mic and calls Farouk her special little modern day gladiator before telling Monsoon to have his tournament. But Sonny gets what she wants, and she wants gold. I don't know if calling Farouk a special little modern day gladiator is going to help him at all.
No, not at all.
No, no.
I don't know how long them two are actually together. Because I had totally forgotten that Sonny was with Farouk.
See, I did
before
too.
he started.
And she even, she says that there's lots of sunny days coming in for Farouk. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, we don't watch every television episode, but it's like
I don't.
the sunny days thing, is that, she's been saying that for quite a while? And we all know that.
Actually, I thought he said it.
Oh, okay, maybe he did.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, there's sunny days ahead for him.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we all know.
You know what that really means.
The Brett and Sean stuff.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk about that now. That'll be a 3-part episode in the future.
But yeah, I don't think they're together for too long, just because we're not too far away from the Nation coming together.
Yeah.
So his Farouk gets a little bit of an upgrade.
Yeah, but we have yet to, I guess, because The Rock is like when they start the Nation, he's immediately a member, correct?
No.
He's not. Okay, so we haven't got to Rocky Sucks quite yet.
No, the Nation.
Rocky has to suck before the Nation.
I know. That's why I was curious, how.
Yeah, you gotta die Rocky die before he can be reborn as
Yeah,
the
it's
Rock.
Die Rocky Die.
But yeah, the Nation comes together, and then they try and force Ahmed to be a member, I believe. I think. I could be wrong. It could be one of those, if you lose this match, you're my butler for the next month type situations.
Ron Simmons fucking rules.
Mm-hmm.
Vincent sends us to a recap of our next feud, where the video jumps back and forth between Jake Roberts talking about his drinking issues and Jerry Lawler mocking him. And the Snake believes in eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, while the King begs him to not use the Snake, countering with alcoholic jokes. And back in the arena, Howard Finkel announces the world's strongest man, Mark Henry, who comes out and joins the commentary team for our next match.
Pretty good stuff. Most people, when they get drunk, they see snakes. But when Jake gets drunk, or no, when snakes get drunk, they see Jake Roberts. Jerry Lawler, maybe the best at telling bad jokes, because they just come off as like, yeah, obviously the joke was bad, but he just is so mean and shitty about it that it works. Mm-hmm. It's heel work. He's just a natural heel. And if you don't know this about Jerry Lawler, which I'm sure most of you do, he is a teetotaler. The guy's like never drank in his life. So I feel like it all like comes off even shittier. Just like shit on somebody without having any experience in their potential issues.
We go to our fifth match. Jerry, the King Lawler, versus Jake, the Snake Roberts. And the King comes out with a bag, asking the ref to hold it before taking his jacket off to reveal a Baltimore Ravens jersey.
Dirty Birds.
For some cheap heat.
Baltimore.
Because the Baltimore Ravens had just left Cleveland to go to Baltimore.
That's good stuff.
So I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that Jerry Lawler is a huge Cleveland Browns fan, so he was probably just as mad about them leaving to go to Baltimore.
That's why he knew it would work so well.
So were they the Cleveland Ravens?
No, they were the Cleveland Browns.
Okay, they were the Browns still?
Moved to Baltimore, became the Ravens, and then they got an expansion team back in Cleveland. So that's why there's a Cleveland Browns.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, see, that's Sonny was looking for all these damn ways to get heat. Should just
one Baltimore Ravens.
Had a Ravens jersey on under her shirt and taking it off mid-match.
You know what would have even been better is if she comes out and doesn't wear anything revealing at all except for the Ravens jersey, and then shits all over everybody, so they don't even get like the TNA at all. She just has like oversized, it's like down to her knees, like Ravens jersey. That's how she could have got heat. But she's like 22 and hotter than the sun. I can't blame her for not wanting to flaunt it.
So Lawler does his usual shtick with the mic, making jokes, when he opens the bag, introducing Jake's tag team partners, Jim Beam and Jack Daniels. Yeah. Even though both bottles were Jim Beam.
It's like, who was on props? He also, lets them know that they wanted to sign him onto the baseball team. So he's really playing the local stuff, but who does it better?
The King continues by telling Roberts that he will give him a giant bottle of wine. And it's a large bottle of wine.
Yeah, it's like gallons.
I almost brought one of those, but then it's like, no, those are really expensive, so
yeah.
Let's do ice cream instead.
Uh-huh.
But tells him he will give him that bottle if he leaves the snake in the bag. But Jake doesn't take the offer, pulling his snake out and putting it on Lawler.
Wink, wink.
Sending the King running out to the floor. And Roberts follows out to ram Lawler into the steel steps before they head back into the ring, where Jake stomps on the crown jewels.
Yeah, and I love the idea that Jim Ross says it's like listening to a bad comedian on a cruise ship, and it's like, oh, they've had bad comedians on cruise ships as long as cruise ships have existed. That's very funny. I'm glad that you didn't bring just a bottle of whiskey and be like, all right, well, for SummerSlam, we're drinking 4 fingers of whiskey. Like straight whiskey. It's not chilled.
No, it would have been a big ass bottle of wine if I was going to do something like that.
That's more palatable.
The King rolls out after Robert slams him on the floor, before also running Lawler into the ring post.
Posted
multiple times. Jake gets back in the ring, but the King grabs a fan's drink and throws it into Robert's eyes, allowing Lawler to tie up the snake in the ropes, before grabbing the whiskey bottle from the commentary booth. And once he returns, Jake is able to kick away the bottle, breaking free and attempting a DDT, only for the King to backdrop him.
And McMahon asks, what is that fan going to do without a drink? And Mr. Perfect lets him know that, Jake will buy him a drink later.
Lawler hits a falling fist that seems to just wake up Roberts, who fires up with jabs and a short arm clothesline before going for another DDT, but the King grabs the ref to help block the move.
Dirty boy.
Lawler then grabs the whiskey bottle and jams it into the Snake's throat, causing him to fall over in pain, allowing the King to make the cover for the pin and the win.
Jake Roberts sells that throat.
Post-match, Jake is having trouble breathing, trying to tell the ref, but he can't speak. So Lawler grabs the mic to talk for him, saying that his throat looks dry and he needs a drink. The King opens the bottle and pours the alcohol on Roberts.
So awful.
And it was supposed to be fake, but real whiskey was in those bottles.
It looked like real whiskey. Sometimes you'll see like fake booze and it's like, oh, well, they just put like iced tea in there. I could tell it was real, and it hurt to watch because, number one, that would be awful even if you didn't have a drinking problem, or if you were a casual drinker, or if you'd never had a drink, that would be terrible. But to pour this all over this...
recovering alcoholic.
Abused and abusive alcoholic is like hard to watch whether you love or hate
somebody
Jake Roberts as a person.
Just recently had to have a stint or whatever, missing the last show because of his quote-unquote demons coming to the surface again. This storyline itself, I hate when they do storylines like this just because there's certain things in reality that don't need to be brought in. You don't need to be bringing in people's alcohol and drug issues, unless you're firing them, getting rid of them, bringing it to the surface that way, but making it a part of the storyline. I've always hated.
Yeah, it's a fine line because like personal issues draw money is obviously true and the truest thing in wrestling, but it needs to be on the same terms. And when you're talking about substance issues, nobody looks good.
No.
Like everybody looks bad in that situation. It's not like you stole my girlfriend.
Yeah, it's one thing if Jake, swapped the bottles out himself and put the ones with real whiskey in there. But anybody that had any hand in this match and anything that went along with it, they should have checked all of that shit beforehand.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like sending a loaded gun, onto a prop set.
Yeah.
And
R.I.P. Brandon Lee.
Yeah.
But it's like Jake Roberts isn't just Jake the Snake. This is the guy that the movie The Wrestler is based off of, essentially. This is the guy that we've all watched Beyond the Mat. And if you haven't watched the Beyond the Mat, watch it twice. But it's the most memorable...
We'll cover it one of these days.
Yeah, the most memorable, compelling, and upsetting shit in that whole documentary is the Jake shit.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it was hard. That was hard to look at.
Yep.
We watch people fake fight, cut themselves, throw Nintendos at each other, take unprotected chair shots. But this one was so much nastier for some reason.
Well, Mark Henry agreed with you guys because he's had enough. And he jumps up to stop Lawler, sending him running before helping Jake to the back.
And Vince McMahon says, if nothing else, Jake has been totally humiliated. And the way he says it feels like he thought it was funny or a good thing. It's like, maybe it's just the evil Mr. McMahon in my head, but it feels like he was like, this guy fucked us around too much. He would have
had to have thought it was funny because he allowed it.
Yeah, that line, all of this goes down very
Jake.
acidically, where I'm just like, ugh. Mm-hmm. We all know wrestling, a lot of wrestling can be in bad taste, and we take it with a grain of salt when it is, and can understand where it's coming from. But it's like, ugh.
A little bit of Mr. McMahon floating to the surface there before he makes his official debut.
Vincent spots Bob Backlund campaigning in the crowd, and we get a shot of it. But could you tell that it was Bob Backlund?
No, I just saw a bunch of people, and maybe his like hand or wrist, maybe the top of his head.
Glad it wasn't just me.
Nope.
We then get a video about the Boiler Room Brawl. And Pettengill, with the narration, speaks about the unpredictable relationship between Taker and Mankind, that it was forged in fate. Both men dwell in darkness, but one represents the light. Undertaker has felt the paralyzing effect of the mandible claw, but now their rage transcends titles and can only be confined in the bowels of the arena. Mankind thrives on pain, but how much pain can these superstars endure?
I do love the clip. I assume it was from Raw of Mankind pushing over the casket says Goldust on it. I assume either Goldust or Undertaker in it, but there's a thing I noticed where it is bungee corded, like closed and then pushed over, which is a really nice visual. It made me want to go back and find that Raw episode just to at least see that in full context, because it was like, oh, this is a great visual.
It was probably during the Undertaker Goldust feud.
Yeah,
that Mankind started coming out.
Yeah,
I mean, his first appearance was him coming out of that.
Yeah, it was just a really great visual that I haven't seen because I haven't seen the episode, but it was obviously a television episode. And then, of course, George the Rat. Mankind doing boiler room promos with George the Rat, George Cornette.
So we go to our sixth match. The Undertaker versus Mankind in a boiler room brawl.
And what are the rules?
And they begin in the boiler room with the goal to fight their way to the ring, winning by claiming the urn from Paul Bearer, who's standing in the ring.
I do love that Paul Bearer gets the full entrance into the ring, the urn. So fun.
So the dead man enters and begins to wander around the boiler room, when Foley would attack from behind with a pipe and start choking Taker, before using more things such as chunks of wood and trash cans. The two ram each other into equipment, lockers, and tanks, when Mankind would release a steam valve right into the Undertaker's face before the feed begins to cut in and out.
And first thing, Undertaker goes in and they legitimately spend like 3 minutes of him just looking around, and there's no music, crowd sound is low because they just have monitors for the crowd to watch in the arena, but it's legitimately like kind of creepy. It like kind of works. The tension is actually there. You're like, when is he going to come out? And Taker does a really great job of all of that.
Yep.
It's really, really good. And it's crazy they took the time to let it happen. And then the valve was obviously an extinguisher, but like it's like I rewound it so many times to try to find like the extinguisher, because you can see with one hand he like turns it, and his other hand someone else is like hitting the button on the extinguisher on the other side, and he's using his like other hand to like point it at the guy. And I know it because I rewound it a million times, but you can't see it on camera, which is pretty incredible.
So the dead man begins to fight back with pipes and trash cans of his own, even smashing a pallet over the head of Foley.
Brutal.
And Mankind goes 6 feet under with the pipe, then tosses Taker into a garage door before nailing a running knee to his head.
These guys really sell how like exhausting it is to be fighting in the dark and being hit with stuff.
Foley climbs up a ladder, leaping off with an elbow drop before using more chunks of wood. Mankind then begins to drag the Undertaker back to the middle of the boiler room, where the feed is still cutting in and out.
Ah, damn it.
And once we're back, Foley's setting up a ladder for another elbow drop. But the dead man sits up and dumps Mankind into some trash.
Oof.
But the ladder actually catches the overhead pipe,
and
so Foley falls short of the trash area, and he actually damages his sciatic nerve in the fall.
I totally noticed that when he fell, because
he falls short. Then
they show a replay of it. He lands like, I couldn't tell if he landed on his hip, his thigh, his
it's just like
top of his ass, what it was, because
it's like the funny bone of your torso, kind of. But like he sets up the ladder, and like climbs about as high as he could, but it's up just against like a brick wall.
Yep.
And Undertaker pulls him down and there's like it's really well hidden crash pad. It's like a tarp and like a box with like still has some like, plastic PVC pipes in it and whatnot. But he falls short, and it's like he definitely wanted to be about another foot or so into that pad.
They fight their way out of the boiler room and into the hallway, with Mankind attempting to block the doorway with carts and trash bins, but Taker kicks his way free. And wrestlers just watch them fight their way down the hallway as Foley throws metal carts and hot coffee at the Undertaker.
Hot coffee is wild. You can see the steam off of it.
Yep. Who knew Bradshaw and Austin were such good friends standing there watching the fight go by?
We also got, before they quite left the boiler room, there was the first and potentially only light tube spot in a WWF show, where there's light tubes on the wall and he throws Mick Foley into them.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, light tubes.
So Mankind comes through the curtains first, but Taker charges out with a clothesline to take Foley down. And they continue to brawl their way down the aisleway, where they knock over a TV that had been set up for the crowd to see the backstage action. So like it was just all these CRT TVs that like one on each side of the ring, so people at ringside could see it, while everyone else had to watch the TVs at the entranceway.
Takes
which
you
is
back
crazy
to the
because
elementary
like
school days of where they're rolling the TVs around from room to room.
It's like this is so well done, but like, can you imagine going to a pay-per-view and they're like, okay, this then now we have like 32-inch TVs because that's as big as they make them right now.
You up there in section 213, enjoy.
Yeah.
So the Undertaker starts to climb into the ring, but Mankind drags him back down and shoves him into the steps before ripping up the mats to nail a pile driver on the concrete. Mm-hmm. Now Foley climbs up to the apron, but the dead man stops him, climbing up to the apron himself, where they trade strikes until Taker uses the ropes to send Mankind crashing back down to the floor. And the Undertaker enters the ring, and he reaches for the urn.
And when he threw Mick Foley out, he crashed to the concrete floor. Just so you know.
But Paul Bearer turns around and refuses to relinquish it.
Oh my god.
Allowing Foley to make his way into the ring and lock on the mandible claw. And Bearer's in the corner laughing until the dead man sits up. So Foley applies the claw again before holding Taker so that Paul can slap and kick him.
Oh my gosh.
The Undertaker continues to crawl towards Bearer, with Mankind continuously kicking him, when Paul would clock the dead man over the head with the urn before handing it to Foley for the win.
I mean, it sounds like not a lot happened in this match when said out loud, but it is incredibly well done. The turn is incredibly well done. I would say that this is the first true cinematic match.
Yeah.
It's like the Piper and Goldust thing was fun. I like it a lot. It's interesting. It's got a bit of a jokey vibe to it with the, OJ. Bronco and OJ thing. But, like, this is better than any cinematic thing the WWF's done as far as official matches go. And it's kind of the first one. And then the beautiful Mick Foley winning theme plays. Because, like, his first theme is always creepy, but that when he wins a match, his song is different, and it's like kind of melancholy but celebratory. Feels so good.
So you said it better than I was going to, because I was trying to think of the words to describe it, and it's like we've got sad, creepy to like inspirational, creepy.
You know what it reminds me of? It sounds very much like It reminds me of the Twin Peaks theme.
I can say that.
Which is one of my favorite songs of all time. So maybe that's why I love it so much.
Post-match, Mankind clutches the urn while Bearer hugs him before the two leave together as Paul continues to laugh. And Taker lays motionless in the ring.
Just flat in the ring. Taker really he obviously is completely behind Mick Foley, as Mick Foley has essentially ran a train on Undertaker since he showed up.
And the gong sounds,
Boom.
and the lights go out. Druids start chanting, and they walk to the ring before carrying
That's really good.
the Undertaker out of the arena. So, as you kind of mentioned, cinematic match, because the entire boiler room part of the match was filmed the day before. It didn't go to live until they came out of the curtains.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the cuts are really well done, where like it looks like the camera cuts out, but it doesn't feel new or like a clean cut, because when they cut back in, like somebody's already doing a move on somebody, the camera is still in the same place, they're not in a new location. It's very tastefully done, considering how, outlandish
Only a
it
few
is.
seconds in between instead of 15 minutes like Piper and Goldust.
Yeah, and also it's like these guys are doing crazy stuff to each other. So, like on a WWF show, we haven't seen shit like this.
So, a crazy note about this match, it was almost the last match of the dead man's career, because he would get a staph infection from a cut in the boiler room.
Ugh, disgusting.
And he nearly had to amputate his arm.
Jesus.
It was that bad.
Jesus.
I mean,
I never had a staph infection, but it's kind of the grossest thing I can think of, because it's basically just your body fills with like poisonous pus.
Yep.
It's awful.
and here we thought that, the worst thing that could happen down there was Mick Foley licking a dirty pipe, but...
He was just building up his immune system.
Yeah, Mick Foley's definitely got a better immune system.
We then go backstage, and Doc Hendricks is there with Vader and Jim Cornette. Doc asks if Vader will shock the world. And Corny chimes in that they have proved a lot of things over the last couple of months. So when the Mastodon gets his hands around Sean's throat, he will sound like Peter Frampton's Electric Kazoo.
Wow.
In the instrumental break from Do You Feel Like I Feel?
Wow, 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 wow.
I love when Corny makes musical references, because they're as obscure as like mid-tier like Jethro Tull, or as famous but still technically outdated as Peter Frampton in '96. It's just so charming, but like so funny.
Jim then promises that it will be a bad ride, and they will come out on top. We then go to our 7th match. Vader with Jim Cornette versus the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, with Jose Lothario for the WWF Championship. So the Mastodon taunts the crowd as he makes his way to the ring before throwing the ring steps around. He's just mad about something.
I mean, he's a manster, according to Jim Ross.
Hey, Clarence Mason is not checked in on him at all, so maybe he's feeling left out.
He's got the better man.
And as the Heartbreak Kid makes his way out, a young lady jumps the rail and kisses him. Security's not very good at these shows, guys.
Nope.
Yeah. And Shawn Michaels' ring gear is very Michael Jackson-esque. It's kind of like somewhere between, it's like gladiator chainmail, but like not. You've all seen Michael Jackson before in the 90s. I mean, come on.
So Vader uses his power advantage early on, throwing punches and short arm clotheslines. But Shawn catches a big boot attempt and sweeps the leg to take the Mastodon down. Michaels hits a basement drop kick and strikes that phase Vader, but a back elbow puts Vader back in charge momentarily, trying to toss the Heartbreak Kid out of the ring, only for Shawn to drop down, and the momentum sends the Mastodon out to the floor. Michaels would follow out with a baseball slide and a tope con hilo
Beautiful.
out onto Vader.
A beautiful one.
Cornette helps the Mastodon up, and they look to regroup when HBK would slide out, which would scare Corny away.
I mean, his reaction, the scream and run off, beautiful.
Before Shawn would turn to smack Vader with a right hand. And they head back into the ring with Shawn coming off the top with a double axe handle, followed by a hurricanrana. Michaels then leaps onto the Mastodon's shoulders to head scissor Vader out to the floor, before skinning the cat to re-enter.
I do love that the crowd. There's Vader signs in the crowd. There's some of the crowd that is pro Vader.
It's Vader time, baby.
As they should be. But there's a lot more girls here at wrestling in '96 in the WWF, and goddamn, do they love Shawn Michaels.
HBK then attempts to leap over for another Rana, but the Mastodon catches and powerbombs Shawn down to the floor before slamming him over the ropes back into the ring.
Hell yeah.
Vader continues with stiff shots, a vertical suplex, whipping Michaels corner to corner to get a flare flip out of him. The Mastodon continues with stomps, headbutts, and a back body drop. Goes for a back suplex, but rabbit punches and a flip over from HBK allows him to rally momentarily, only for Vader to poke the eyes. Shawn is then tossed to a corner with the Mastodon charging in after, only for Michaels to avoid, but Vader turns and clotheslines HBK down to the mat. And the Mastodon goes for another suplex, only for Shawn to float over and charge at Vader, who sidesteps him and shoves Michaels over the ropes, which HBK tries to skin the cat once more, but the Mastodon catches him and tosses him off to the mat for a 2 count.
Just lifts him up and fucking darts him onto his belly.
Vader begins to wear down Shawn with a hold, but he fires up with right hands and a leaping knee to the gut. Michaels goes for a clothesline to no avail. Goes to charge at him once more, but tries to slide under him, only for the Mastodon to just put his foot on HBK's throat.
Hell yeah.
Vader then goes for a pump splash, but Shawn gets his knees up, allowing him to nail a clothesline and head up top for a flying elbow. But he lands on his feet and just begins to stomp on the Mastodon's head. And the reason that is because Vader was supposed to move, but he doesn't. So Michaels begins to throw a tantrum, yelling at him, "Move! Move!"
I do love the creative way to get him down on the third clothesline. It's like, yeah, a lot of times like 1, 2, okay, well the third one, but there's a good enough break in between there that like, yeah, it's a really intelligent spot.
HBK's tossed to the ropes, ducks a clothesline, and comes back with a crossbody that sends them both over the ropes. And Shawn shoves the camera out of his face before the Mastodon press slams him onto a guardrail, causing a countout. But
Record scratch.
Bum, bum, bum.
Cornette doesn't want to win that way. They want the title. And he guilts Michaels into restarting the match. And as soon as the announcement's made, Vader attacks out on the floor before going after Lothario. And the ref has to back Jose up, which allows Corning to get involved with a racket shot to the back of HBK. The Mastodon then tosses Shawn into the ring before nailing an avalanche splash and a belly-to-belly suplex for the pin. And no! Michaels kicks out. Vader goes for a powerbomb, but more rabbit punches takes the Mastodon down, followed by a leaping forearm, kip up, and a flying elbow. And HBK sets up for some sweet chin music.
Tune up the band.
When Cornette would grab his leg, but Shawnee would drag Corny up to the apron to smack him, allowing Jim to toss the racket into the ring. Michaels then kicks the Mastodon away, picks up the racket, and smashes Vader with it several times, before turning and doing the same to Cornette,
Ding, ding, ding.
causing the disqualification.
Dun, dun, dun.
But
Record scratch.
Jim grabs the mic and accuses the Heartbreak Kid of getting disqualified on purpose,
Sure looked like it.
Totally.
daring him to restart the match once more, with Shawn agreeing to do so again. Michaels goes right after the Mastodon, attempting a sunset flip, only for Vader to try and just sit down. The Heartbreak Kid moves in time. Shawn then nails another leaping forearm and a flying elbow before delivering sweet chin music
Tune it up.
for the pin, and
No!
the Mastodon kicks out.
Shawn Michaels can't believe it.
Vader shoves Michaels into the ref, which sends Hebner
Ref bump.
flying out of the ring. allowing the Mastodon to hit a powerbomb and making the cover as another official comes into the ring for the pin. And no! HBK kicks out again.
Hey, it was a late count.
The Mastodon drags Shawn to the corner for a Vader bomb, but Corny tells him to do the Vader salt instead.
No!
Only for Michaels to move in time. The Heartbreak Kid then climbs the ropes and nails a moonsault of his own for the pin and the win. Post-match, officials run down to the ring to prevent the Mastodon from attacking. So they leave to the back as Vince says his goodbyes, and we fade to black.
I think I may have realized, I don't know why it took me so long, but Vader in WCW, his mask, I don't even call it a mask because it doesn't really cover anything, but his mask is on for 2 to 5 minutes.
If even.
It stays on in a WWF match. Mm-hmm. Especially this one where I was like, oh, his mask didn't come off. I'm so used to just coming off, seeing,
on this show specifically, his mask has to stay on because they start the show talking about monsters and their masks and whatnot. So
for sure. But I feel like it stays on even in the WWF matches.
In WCW, he came down with that smoking mask thingy.
Yeah.
And nobody cared about the little strap mask on his face after that.
Yeah, it really wasn't that important to the gimmick.
Huh.
So, fun note, originally, the Mastodon was supposed to win here, with Shawn regaining the title at the Royal Rumble in his hometown of San Antonio.
Would have loved to see it.
But Michaels hated working with Vader.
As a lot of people did.
So he vetoed that series of matches.
And supposedly Vader worked hard, although we've seen Vader work harder with men that weren't divas.
Yeah.
We've seen Vader legitimately just punch Sting in the side of the temple. Those Vader shoot punches, they don't happen in this match. But Shawn shoot kicks him, and it's legitimately exciting because I didn't quite, catch that wasn't the plan because it's very smooth. But he's the one that throws a fit. Vader's just big and dumb. Mm-hmm. No offense, but everyone will tell you that Leon, loved his family, but he was not the sharpest tool in the shed. And he did work hard, and he wasn't very, very hygienic.
Yeah, I was gonna say, oftentimes he worked hard in those same clothes that he'd been not washing for several months.
Yeah, watch a bunch of Vader matches. Sometimes he wears his ring gear just backwards.
Mm-hmm. What's the description of Brett?
It was like wrestling a concrete truck full of vomit because he never washed those gloves, didn't really wash his gear. He was and he hit hard, smells bad, and those matches leave you, feeling a little rougher in the morning.
So I ask you, gentlemen, what are your overall thoughts of SummerSlam 96?
Well, this is honestly the first time I had watched SummerSlam 96. I realized that as I was about halfway through it, I've never actually seen any of these matches before because this was the around the time I was working at Blockbuster trying to figure out if I was going to be going back to school. And, I think at that time I had decided I wasn't going to be going back to school. But, work took priority, so I wasn't working or watching as much wrestling at the time. This one, I don't know. It wasn't the SummerSlam that I'm used to. It just, I don't know.
It's not a hard watch.
No, it wasn't a hard watch. It's just not a very exciting watch the entire way through.
I agree with you. It's because there's some good stuff in here, but I don't know if there's any great stuff in here.
Yeah.
It's the Boiler Room match is good. It's important. It's great character work. Same goes for the Goldust, and then Vader and Shawn is good, but it's not my favorite Vader match or my favorite Shawn match.
Not my favorite Undertaker and Foley match.
No?
I mean, it sounds like we're all basically on the same page because I literally wrote down on paper, it seems like it is a good card. but the show just kind of falls flat. Mm-hmm. There's some good storytelling moments, some memorable moments. Obviously, Paul Bearer turning on Undertaker is a hugely memorable moment.
There is
the whole Boiler Room Brawl is memorable just because it's the first time WWF has ever really done anything like this.
And pulled it off in a more serious manner.
Yeah. But it never gets there.
It's more moments than matches.
Yeah.
Like, okay. I think that the best matches on the show are maybe...
Sid and Bulldog's my favorite match.
Yeah, Sid, Bulldog, and Goldust, Marc, Mero. I think are both great wrestling matches. And, like, Shawn and Vader isn't bad, but it's just like, this feud isn't really very palpable. Whereas, like, even if those feuds in the matches that I did like a lot were not super well built or felt super important, people involved made it feel important at the time on the show, where like Vader and Shawn, it's like, well, I mean,
yeah, you could tell about 2 minutes into that match that feud was just done.
Yeah. Whereas like I'd like to see another Goldust Marc Mero match. That would still be good on a Raw, and Sid and Bulldog would be good again as long as Sid is in this mode. But we don't have. There's no Austin on the show.
Yeah,
and Austin's
you see Austin from a doorway. That's about it.
Austin was on the pre-show with Yokozuna.
That sounds
okay.
Wonderful.
Exactly where my King of the Ring winner should be, on the pre-show where nobody can watch
broke and Yokozuna fell off, and that's how Austin won.
Oh.
Yeah, they did talk about that at some point.
And there was a bikini showdown with Sable, Marlena, and Sunny on the free for all.
Of Clarence Mason as the ref and whoever
can make him sweat.
I was gonna say do you have three managers in front of them, and whoever gets a boner first, that's the winner.
As long as one of them's not Lawler, then.
Good. Where's the smart marks at? There. All right. Fuck you.
I think it's time we smark it up.
Yep.
So, what are some of the best moments of this show?
Sid caring.
Yeah.
Sid caring is great. Marc Mero shooting star press.
Yeah.
Blew my mind.
Yeah.
Those are like the two
Peter
big...
Frampton's electric kazoo.
I mean, yeah. We all know Corny can talk. I feel like that I won't say that because it's not calling it a highlight. But I think those are the moments that I think I'll take away from this.
I mean, the Taker Foley cinematic wonderment.
The stuff in the boiler room, I think it might have gone on a little too long.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
And I think that might be where... Because also, like, you said that there wasn't anything, like, there was no sound, you couldn't really hear the crowd. There wasn't really any commentary going on while they're in the boiler room brawl. And I think...
It started off with them, kind of making a comment about Undertaker looking scared, or,
They should have worked harder on the commentary, because both guys work it incredibly well. Like, it looks like a struggle, it looks like a fight, but sitting there at home,
it was a choice to not have really any commentary going on during the match.
Yeah.
And
you wanted to give it that eerie effect.
I think that might have
been the wrong choice.
I mean, just them reacting to the brutalness of what was going on would have probably just worked. Like, they didn't need to, maneuver it or anything.
No. And the crowd is, because crowd noise you can still hear, and they do pop throughout this, pre-taped thing.
But it's basically, the first two rows of
fans.
Fans.
But it's still, there are points where it gets pretty loud. Yeah. And, Well, I figured that maybe they had it on,
they had it on
screen.
their Tron thing out there, but...
the fans in the front can't really see it.
Still, there's plenty of people that really still can't see it.
Yep.
Good idea, but I
think it's executed well by the two men.
The execution of the match itself is well. The production of the match isn't the best. And we'll see once they get a Titantron, all these issues are null and void because then everyone can see the Titantron. But at this moment, the technology just isn't
quite there. Yeah,
there where the production can be good for.
But the turn, incredibly well done.
Turn was good.
That I think the whole thing, considering, is done really, really well. But it's not really surprising. It's not my favorite thing on the show still because, the favorite thing is always going to be the thing that excited you, made your eyes widen, made you sit up a little straight, like clicked you back in. And who knew? Who could have known that maybe it was Sycho Sid that made me feel that way? Never could have guessed.
How about most disappointing?
Sable's acting abilities.
Whole Lawler snake stuff.
But I think that was entertaining, and I do think it was entertaining and compelling, but I still think it kind of sucks that it happened. But I can't say I was bored by it.
The Lawler Jake part?
Yeah, I can't say I was bored by that.
I didn't see any entertainment in it.
I will admit that
I thought it was entertaining.
I laughed at the tag team partners joke, and I laughed at the giant bottle of wine. But once it got going,
you got your cringe.
Literally, all I wanted to see was Jake come out DDT, and we didn't get that. And then I'm going to admit it right now, surprise of the night, Jake didn't win the match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jerry Lawler, who's a commentator who gets like 1 or 2 matches a year, wins this match.
Yeah.
Where does Robert? Obviously Roberts is probably out the door at this.
Vince McMahon
pretty close at this point.
Vince McMahon has that line, and it's like obviously they were just like, oh, you can come back, but when you come back, like obviously we're just gonna throw you out the door and punish you. Is what it feels like. It's like, oh yeah, come in, give you some money, but we're going to legitimately embarrass you and put you out the back door. And while it is gross. It is compelling. I wasn't bored. It wasn't. Shit, what's the most boring match on this show?
This one, if not the tag team match.
Yeah, like the tag team match, I think was probably. But like this, it's like I also kind of like looking at train wrecks. I do love some grimy films. So this has kind of that.
I'm also a fan of train wrecks, so to speak, but I prefer them to be watching somebody wreck themselves and not be on the receiving end of somebody's dumb humor.
Yeah, as much as I think that it sucked that it happened, I can't say I was bored.
No.
As much as I would love to.
But then the Sable screaming and crying because Mankind wants to talk to her, that was just dumb.
The whole Ahmed Johnson stuff, that's disappointing just because I do know that basically you're never going to see another real good match from him.
No.
Because
it's a bummer
because he comes back and in trying to protect himself, he ends up not protecting his opponents. And so his matches become very sloppy.
It's a shame because he's such a wonderful physical specimen.
And also Farouk, Gladiator.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It doesn't help to Sonny's not going to put him over. At this point, it's like, yeah, they're going to react to her. They're not going to react to him. They're also not going to react to him wearing a bunch of goofy crap.
Yeah.
You know what they would react to is if he came out and maybe attack somebody or worked his way into a match to cause babyface to lose.
Technically, him and Ahmed were supposed to have a match on this show.
Yeah,
obviously
they were supposed to be
Ahmed
for the Intercontinental Belt.
Ahmed's hurt, so
probably should have waited. But it's like, well, we know this guy's going to be in the tournament now. Well, it means something if we put him on the pay-per-view, but it's not a great debut. But who gets great debuts anymore anyway?
I'll say Mark. Go back to best moments. Mark Henry had a great debut.
Yeah.
For a guy who didn't wrestle. Like,
no, exactly.
We see him helping the community.
Yes.
So he's a great guy, being nice to kids, and then I thought he was pretty fun on the commentary.
Mm-hmm.
And then he scares off Lawler's. So I assume that probably him and Lawler probably have a match at some point. And Lawler's a good person to have a
early feud
with. Because
we're gonna get a Mero team or Mark Henry team versus Lawler team at Survivor Series.
We might. Who knows?
Doesn't sound terrible.
The King's Court versus the Olympians. Something, yeah. Olympians. There you go. I like it.
It's lazy enough for McMahon to think it's good.
How about best performer of the night? Yeah, I know I'm saying Sycho Sid.
Yeah, it's basically Sid or Goldust, and then it's like obviously Taker and Mankind can get it any other night, but
I mean Taker almost lost an arm for this.
They get it all the time, so if it's not those two guys, if I'm gonna excommunicate them from the conversation, then it's Goldust or Sid, and I'm gonna pick Sid because Sid doesn't get that very often.
No.
And Goldust.
Very true.
And who knows if he'll ever be able to get it again.
True.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm legitimately excited to see another Sid match, which is crazy. Never felt that way in my life.
How about most surprising? I mean, I already said mine, which was Lawler winning his match.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was surprising just because I knew that, like, Jake wasn't long for this world. But
Roberts is still the...
Yeah.
He's still the actual active wrestler.
He's still
Jake out of those two.
Yeah, my thought is...
And everybody wants to see a DDT.
He lost the King of the Ring and, helped elevate Austin, so they could have given him a win at SummerSlam, take down the King.
I was surprised that...
Mark Henry.
Yeah.
Mark,
I didn't realize this was where he...
Justin Hawk Bradshaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say Mark Henry was a bigger surprise than Bradshaw because he has kind of a slow rise through the company.
I mean, we're going to at least see him for the next 10 years because that's how long his contract is.
But it was surprising. Anytime Vader has a match, I'm always waiting for Vader, like, shoot combo in the corner. And when he doesn't use it, it's surprising and I take note of it. And I always look for it. And when I didn't see it here, it's like I knew he wasn't going to win. But it's like, oh, that's how big of a baby Shawn Michaels is.
Right.
He won't take those large forearms to the head.
Don't shoot me for saying this, but surprising for me, I did not enjoy the opening match with Owen and Savio. They didn't seem to have much chemistry together.
Well, literally the match got thrown together, like...
Oh, was it just an on-the-spot thing?
Just
kinda?
on the spot.
Okay.
Because
Owen's always
Savio and Justin Hawk Bradshaw had been having issues on TV, and then for some reason they decided to put Owen Hart versus Savio on the pay-per-view, even though they not had any reason to fight.
Yeah.
Why not
just have Bradshaw and Savio? And it was just like, I guess we're just gonna keep this feud going for a little. Like, is that a feud that needs to go longer? I'm like,
no.
I mean, Owen's always compelling. His character work is great, but it felt kind of like as good as he was, it didn't feel like the right way to open the show.
If anything, that match, all it does is build the Clarence Mason Cornette storyline,
which also is not a highlight.
It's like, cool, Clarence Mason. That's our storyline for that.
Yeah.
It's like,
if Clarence Mason had a quarter of the charisma as Jim Cornette, it could potentially work. But he is a charisma vacuum, whereas Cornette is a charisma machine.
Literally what it sounds like is that Cornette's contract was about to come up, and so they were trying to position someone else as their manager so Cornette could go off and do his
Smoky Mountain.
Well,
I mean, he's about to be on the writing team and continue to be on the writing team for another couple of years, but another highlight when Shawn Michaels slides out of the ring directly in between, pops up between Corny and Vader, and it's a pure Looney Tunes moment that is done like in a way that doesn't come off as, no pun intended, like corny. It doesn't come off as hokey. It's just like, oh yeah, of course he would do that. And like he doesn't oversell it quite like Sable did because, you know, he's professional.
Making their way to the ring.
It's trivia time.
Ooh.
This week, the category is the numbers game.
The numbers game. What I say.
So 3 points for the closest without going over.
Okay.
And the question is, how many theme songs did we play at the end of episodes? Different, unique songs did we play at the end of episodes?
Between
93 and
93
94.
and 94.
probably about like 50 episodes. I don't know how I feel about it, but
55 episodes. I'll give you that clue.
Okay.
I keep changing my mind. You good? You good, Shane?
Yep.
All right.
Let's see those numbers. Shane goes with 17. Michael goes with 38. 3 points for Michael, as the answer was 40.
Ooh.
Wow.
What's crazy is how
I just figured we had the same old winner on at least 15 of those shows.
so much ECW.
Bonus question for 2 points.
Fuck.
Which theme did we play the most times?
Are we just writing this down, or are we and answering?
You can make a guess. You can make a guess.
It's only one of you can get it right.
Yeah, so just make it. If you make a guess and you think you're right, that's fine. I just won't pick that one.
Fuck it. I'll say Brett.
Heart Attack is incorrect.
Okay.
Ooh. Is it Hogan in WCW?
That is incorrect as well, as the answer was Spotch Zarathustra.
Oh my gosh. So unfortunate. As much as everybody loves Ric Flair, he just, still never gets his due.
I mean, I was thinking he didn't have as many wins then, but
It feels like he hasn't had a series of wins
it's about
in
the time
a long
that he
time.
came back,
Yeah.
and then I guess he did go on a streak there.
He does, but Hogan comes back and fucks it all up. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to remember that little streak.
Bonus question for 1 point.
Oh my God, he keeps it going.
How many times did we play Spotch? Price is Right rules.
Price is Right rule. I got a number. You got a number?
All right, how many times do we hear Spots between 93 and 94?
That is the question.
We'll say that.
Shane goes with 11. Michael goes with 8.
Ooh.
And you're both over.
Oh, what is it, 7?
All right.
6 times.
Oh. Yeehaw.
So Spotch was played 6 times. Vader's song, Afro Rock, was actually played 4 times. Hogan's American Made 3 times. And then a handful of ones at 2 times, such as
Was Brett one of those 2 times?
1, 2, 3 Kid, Luger, Sabu, Terry Funk, and Undertaker.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Bret Hart has not won at the end of the show.
Bret Hart
Any of
had
those
Heartbeat
times?
and Heart Attack.
Ooh.
Unique.
So they only played 1 time each, huh?
Yep.
Rude.
So only 3 points gained this week by Michael.
I'll take it. I need it. I promised.
That's true. Next week, Natural Born Killers.
Natural Born Killers.
Can you imagine who might be in this main event?
Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg.
It's not Tupac.
Woody Harrelson and Juliette Lewis. Mickey and Mallory.
Music from this week's show is Beach Party Version 2 by Steve Voss. And the Heartbreak Kid won our main event, so we play his theme music, Sexy Boy by Jimmy Hart and JJ Maguire. If you like this episode or any of our other ones, go out there, rate and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts at. Do as Michael says.
5 stars or no stars. Get it right.
And if you have any questions, comments, concerns,
If you've ever been to a little place called Philly and you know of things that they like to eat, drink, snack on,
Philly roll call.
something. Damn, maybe I should bring a Philly roll. Have I brought a Philly roll for a Philly show yet?
I don't think so.
Huh. I mean, I brought enough sushi though, I think, here recently, so maybe we'll just hold that one
Who
for a
gets mad
while.
about sushi?
But yeah, if you know anything that would have to do with a place in Philly that you think that we should try, slide into the DMs. Let us know. Tweet it.
And you can do those things at our email at wrestlinghistoryx@gmail.com or find us on Twitter at WrestlingHistoX. That's Wrestling HISTOX. We'll talk to you next week.
Oh God, laters!